And before we get into the meat of the editing work, there are, I think, two more things I want to do. One is I want to add a staff group to this that encompasses the coral parts. That's not hard. So we have the staff tool, and right-click, add group in bracket, and we want to have it go through baritone. Let's use this, and for choir we want it only on staves. And since we were in page view, it thought that we might have wanted to do a temporary group, you could say. So we have to make sure that it's on all measures, and we're not going to do staff hiding, but in general, in principle, we would want to say we'd only hide the choir if all of them are resting, and this would only be in a larger setting. Obviously, this is never going to hide a staff. Okay, there we go. That's very nice looking. Okay, and the last thing is measure numbers. I want to change the distribution and the font both. So first, let's decide which staves we want this on. I would say that if we have it at the top of the score and the top of the piano, that's probably just fine. Different scores all have their different ways of doing it. Like my Messiah score I mentioned earlier actually has it down here, which is funny, the bottom of the score. But I'm going to go ahead and just have it on the top and on the piano. And to do this, unless you really only want it on the top staff, which you can do through the measure number tool, you have to go through the staff properties, or staff attributes for each one. In fact, I can actually take this off because the measure number settings will actually put it on the top staff, which again, this is more about a principle thing. It really doesn't matter here. And here's a fun tip. Finale remembers which of these you just clicked, and so if I click down, I press the space bar and that unchecks it. It's super nice. So the only thing we want this checked on is staff 2, piano, and the rest unchecked. See that? See how the 10 is still up at the top? That's because, here, let's go into edit measure number region. There's only one region, which is almost always the case. You only really need one region for simple pieces. For pieces that have one piece in them, or files that have one piece in them, you'll almost always just have one region. So we want it on the top staff, and we do not want to exclude other staves, so this is correct. This is all right. The only thing I want to change is the font and position. I'm going to change this to the font that we've been using for the rest of this piece, which is Garamond. And put it 12 and normal. And then my positioning is actually, the position is actually best done if you align it to the right, not the right, justify it to the right. Because it sort of matters how it's placed in relation to the clef. Although actually on second thought, because we're going to have it on the top of the piano part, which will have a bar line to the left, let's scratch that and put it a line to the left. And I think this is probably a good height. I think I want to move it to the right just a tiny bit. 5 maybe? And maybe bring it down. See that? Well, that's actually okay, but it's about to hit that treble clef. So let's just move it up a little bit. Let's move it back up to 0.15. That work? Yeah, that works okay. There we go. Yeah, that looks very nice. Okay, now we're actually ready to start from the actual editing work, which won't take a ton of time. I think we've done a lot of the preliminary work. I still will have to align all these dynamics, but basically now it's just a matter of deciding, does this look like a good place to start a staff system, and is this staff system look good? Basically, if it's a little too crowded, we could always move it over. So here would be a place where we might think, that's a little tiny bit crowded here in the piano. We might just want to go stick to three measures here. This has 4, but you know, it really could go either way. Really could go either way, and it doesn't matter that much for a piece that has so few pages in it, actually. I mean, it's a very short piece. So making the music a few more pages is actually kind of fine. In fact, some people might like it feeling a little more substantial, more pages than, how many is it now? Actually, we're currently all of 6 pages, which is going to be 2 double-sided pages, or 3 or 4 sheets of paper, which is, not much. So I'm going to leave that, and I'm going to leave this. This looks fine, for the most part. Here is where we might think about, I might want to have that a tempo on the downbeat. Again, though, it doesn't really matter that much. Let's just see how this shakes out without changing anything. There's sometimes when you really want to move something around to another system. It's just too crowded, or I kind of like having a new tempo on a new system. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And the fastest way to move that, actually, is just the down key. I don't know if this is the case in Macintosh versions, but on PC, I press the down key and boom, it's in the next system. My trick actually is pressing down and then U. As you can see, that just when you press down, it locks both the system you're in and the system you're moving your measure into, which makes sense because that actually is very good design. Because otherwise, if it didn't lock this, it would automatically just move those systems out if it weren't locked, and it could mess with your entire page layout. So that's nice. But since I don't care, since I haven't yet formatted the rest of it, I want it to unlock and just naturally flow across following systems. Yeah, that looks nice. I like having that sort of that section start there. And these look fine. And okay, so here is a trick though. This might make me change my mind. This might make me say, maybe it's better, maybe I can deal with this measure being up here, because now we have one extra measure. And do I want to try to fit? I could, so I have 2 options here that seem feasible to me. I could undo that, and let me just, Now I did nothing here, and this placement is actually not bad. The way this all sort of shook out. But I'm going to try a different thing. I'm going to put this back, and then I'm going to just stretch the music out a little bit towards the end, because it's again, we're not at all rushed here in terms, we're not at all cramped. We can really stretch the music out if we want to, and that actually looks kind of nice. So now we have 4, 3, 4, 3, 3, 4, and 4 measures. So we're keeping to the 3 or 4 measures per system thing. These look all pretty nice. And then what's nice about this is that it ends on the bottom of a page, which is always nice to have a full page of music. It just sort of feels nice. It's not, it shouldn't be a deciding factor, or maybe it's the final deciding factor. If you can't decide exactly what you're going to do, you can make it so that the music flows naturally to the end of a page. And I think that's great. This looks great. Now we're not done yet. I've decided the exact system layout, but I haven't yet done the sort of fine tuning. So before I do that, though, I'm going to lock everything. Control A and press the L button. This will lock all the systems in place. This is very important to do because when you start making little fine-tuned adjustments, Finale will start reflowing your systems across pages unless you have that turned off in preferences. Finale will start doing that, and often I want it to, but often I don't. And the way to prevent yourself from doing it, no matter what that setting is to just always have your systems locked. Always have your systems locked is a major pro tip I have for Finale users. Once you have your system layout done, lock them right away. Another very useful tool, if you want to maintain, if you want to keep one system always at the top of a page, you can insert a page break, which basically, if something happens like this, which doesn't look good, of course, it will retain this system at the top of a page, and so not only retain your systems, but retain your page layout if something weird happens earlier in your piece. So that's not important to do. I have created a little shortcut that lets me do it really fast. So it's a nice little sort of complete thing to do, thorough thing to do. Basically now, I'm going to go through system by system and just sort of look at it and see how it looks, and probably make a few adjustments on each one, and try not to be too perfectionistic. This one looks okay. Well, okay, yeah, I don't like. Let's see what my filter. Okay, I'm going to copy that and take that, and then I'm going to do that, and there we go. Okay. Actually, that system looks okay. The system looks pretty okay. I'm going to align these. There we go. Now, you don't always have to align dynamic markings across a system. I call it the default. I would say its default is align them on a single line, a single invisible horizontal line. But there will be many cases where you can't align them, and you don't need to align them. It's somewhat intuitive. It's basically like, what is going to be the easiest to read? What will make the most sense to read? So you want to try to keep musical ideas together on the same line if you can. But these all look pretty nice. I always find new things every time I do a pass over a piece, especially as I sort of dig into it, and especially if I'm listening to some recording of it or listening to the playback a lot. I'll just find more and more things to do. It's kind of the thing about engraving. It sort of feels like you never run out of things to do. Like this flap looks awfully close to the beam or to the stem. Let's figure out what that is. No. Isn't it though? Look at this. Why is that? Maybe it's this one. No. That's really funny. Now this is the same, almost the same music. What if I copied and pasted this? Undid the filter. Nope. Nope. There's something odd about this measure. And it could very well be one of these things. There's something odd about this measure, and sometimes that just happens. There's something weird about a measure, and unless you actually just delete the measure and copy music into it, but then again, you don't know whether or not somehow the weird thing about the music or about the measure is contained in the music you copy. It's sometimes really hard to tell. So right here, I don't know why this flat or this is almost colliding. I don't know why. I think what my little hack solution to it is going to be is I'm just going to move that 16th note in the measure tool, which will not reset when I apply music spacing. So I like the look of these tempo markings. I think they're pretty nice. Pretty nice size. They might look different when printed out. It's worth, it's worth printing out a page